So here we are on this beautiful river. Ted's looking knackered. He only looks it, I am.
Well, we had a close show, didn't we?
We had a very interesting morning when my attempt to reverse ferry away from some willows didn't happen.
Well, we were going down this chute and we decided that what we'd do, we'd paddle backwards until we could get enough to go left, because there's a big tree across and then there's a gap probably about 3 metres and it got tighter, and then right in front of you was all these willows, so you have to come down and go like that, and the obvious peril was ending up side on against the mangroves and all over against the willows, tumble under, horrible.
So that's what we managed to do, get sideways
anyway,
to the willows.
So we got sideways in amongst that, and eventually managed to get tailing in to the mangroves and actually paddle forward. And we worked out, you know, when you're paddling backwards, it's all a bit of a feeble muscle. You don't do it very often. Paddle forward, we can do it. Paddle backwards. We survived and stayed dry, mate. Well done.
At this point, Ted and I have reverse paddled past a large fallen tree on the left hand side of the river. The aim was to reverse ferry into the eddy behind this fallen tree. However, here we have ended up against the trees on the right hand side of the river. At the time, Ted felt this was because we weren't strong enough to hold the canoe against the current. In hindsight, I think we failed to make it into the eddy because we had the bow pointing to where we wanted to go, rather than the stern. The river then ferried us right, rather than left. The bank we were against was steep, with lots of casuarina trees, and we couldn't get the canoe up it or unload it. Immediately downstream were fallen willow trees. The casuarinas and willows made it impossible for us to line the canoe up or down the river. We probably should have tried to get the canoe pointing upstream and then did a forward ferry across to the eddy. Instead, we tried to get some speed and paddle past the waiting willow trees. This was a bad mistake.
Downstream. You need to. Can you get it to a movie out there?
Immediately after the crash, Ted and I leapt the canoe downstream to stop any water coming into it. While jammed against the willows, I ended up sitting on the downstream gunnel to keep the canoe sufficiently tilted while we worked out what to do. We considered our options, which were few. Eventually, we were able to use the branches to pull the canoe backwards into a gap in the willows and manoeuvre it so it was pointing back upstream.
That's right, if we can get it off this log, and then you hang on to this one, I hang on to this one. So now it's still going to be hard. What we need is to be able to hold it.
We need to point towards the top of the skid. So straight ahead is what we need to do.
Yes.
You've got to paddle like a puck.
We need to be able to hold ourselves against the current. That's it.
Why we're going for the straight.
Yep. And slightly that way. Because when
we're holding ourselves against the current, going right will be easy.
It'll ferry us across.
I'm just going to put this
Alright, so keep that angle so that it pushes us across. That's it, that's a forward ferry, that's what I was after. That's it. Okay, let's get around. Oh, so we're in this eddy now, we're okay. We're captured camera, we've just got to rescue it. out totally this time.
Letting go of the willows, we paddled furiously upstream. This time we got the angle of the canoe right and were able to forward ferry into the eddy, turn the canoe and continue on downstream without losing any gear apart from a broken camera mount, without tipping and without getting wet.